Where is Iran in this conflict and what are its ambitions? We can speak to Sarah Bazubande. She's an Iran expert and research fellow at the German Institute for Global and Area Studies. Welcome to BBC News. Sarah, at the beginning of this crisis, it was widely said that Iran would not want to be drawn into a wider crisis. What do you think is Iran's thinking now?
I think it's more than ever before obvious that the threat on Iran is from different directions is becoming very serious. With the U.S. presence in the region, with the very open and hostile narrative in Israel more than ever before, there is this serious security threat on Iran. Iran has been a long-term supporter of Hamas. For decades, Iran has been providing the group with military equipment, financial supports, training, so on and so forth. Of course, these are all based on unconfirmed and secondhand information, but there has been this ongoing conversation about Iran's support for this group. Now, whether Iran wants to move from this point into a serious escalation and serious direct confrontation with the US and Israel or not is difficult to imagine that it would serve Iran's interest by any stretch of imagination, because that hostility, that confrontation is going to weaken the regime that is already dealing with a lot of domestic dissent. And across the region, of course, if Iran's proxies are defeated, it's going to be to the detriment of the Iranian regime. Of course, they will then obviously want to carry on their support for the proxies across the region. So I think the best scenario for Iran at the moment, considering their constant denial of having involvement in this episode, is that they would like to carry on fighting through proxies, not direct confrontation.
So Iran itself would not want to be drawn in, but it's undeniable that it has great influence over proxies like Hezbollah in Lebanon, like the Houthis, who have also been firing missiles that have been intercepted by the Americans and the Israelis. So Iran is involved in some way and in a growing way in this crisis. Is that how it looks to you?
Yes, absolutely. Iran is one of the major elements of Iranian security strategy since the end of the war with Iraq has been to keep crisis away from their borders. The narrative that they, for example, used during the wars in Syria, the state used during the wars in Syria, was that, especially domestically, was that if we don't fight ISIS in Syria, then we will have to fight ISIS inside Iran. So the fighting through proxies has been a major element of Iranians' involvement in the region and their security doctrine. That is, for that reason, I believe that they will continue fighting through the proxies, but getting involved directly, having any form of confrontations, directly attack, pointed towards Iranian soil, I don't think that is something that they're wishing for, and that is something that they really want to happen. And at the moment, I think the Americans and the Israelis have been very careful and cautious in wording their analysis and updates about the situation to say that whether Iran has been directly involved in this crisis or not. But definitely, as you mentioned, there is going to be escalation through proxies.
Early in the crisis, there were telephone calls between Mohammed bin Salman of Saudi Arabia, President Raisi of Iran, suggesting that Iran was now using this new rapprochement with some of its old arch rivals in the region to try to calm the tensions. Do you know if those back-channel discussions are still taking place as this crisis intensifies?
I would imagine that the conversations are something that are continued. Especially through Qatar. You didn't mention the role of Qatar in this crisis and their mediating role and their relations with Hamas and so on. And they have been in good terms with Tehran as well. So I would imagine these conversations are continued. This is something that Iran has been trying to, in fact, use these channels to communicate with the other side. Of course, this current situation is a part of Iran's bigger vision for the world. Iran's theory of the new world order in which the US is declining and the middle powers like Iran are gaining relevance and significance and power in the strategic calculus of the region is indeed in line with the current crisis. Iran is going to use every channel for communication, is going to every possible proxy to maintain that position and to pursue that vision.